Okay. Does it show it's on recording?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Okay. So we'll proceed with the photodetector noise which we were doing. So just a quick recap. I had explained you about what this photodetector noise is, which is basically the noise or the error which occurs in the detector, the photodetector itself. That is the pin diode or the APD. And we discussed previously the noises which affect this the optical system or any system in general. So it will be the short noise. You can have dark current, or you can have the thermal noise. I had explained you what they are. In general, they are we measure them in the form of mean square value, sigma square. Then I showed you how to measure the signal to noise ratio. We assume that all of them are Gaussian in nature, so that their mean square errors, that is the variances, can just be added, right? So we have done the equation of all the noises. Then we solved some numericals based on finding the noises and the signal to noise ratio. Okay. So we were doing one numerical. So that numerical I'll just read out again. It's there in front of your screen. So it says a silicon APD with x equal to zero 0.3, that is the excess factor x is 0.3, has a capacitance of 5 picofarad, negligible dark current, and it is operating with a post detection bandwidth of 50 megahertz. When the photocurrent gain before gain is 10 raised to negative 7 amperes and the temperature is 18 degrees centigrade, determine the maximum SNR improvement between m equal to 1 and m equal to m optimum, assuming all operating conditions are maintained. Right? So we had done the first part, that is when m is equal to 1. So I had told you here that when m is equal to 1, in this case, the diode is basically a pin diode, because m stands for the multiplication factor, and in pin diode there is no multiplication of the current, right? So m is 1. So in that case, the signal to noise ratio we have evaluated here. So this is the signal to noise ratio here. So you'll have the signal power, which is IP square, right? In the APD case, the signal power will become M into IP square, which we'll see very soon, right? But in this case of the pin diode, it is IP square divided by the short noise plus the thermal noise. So we have IP square and then the equation. So in the equation for the thermal noise, as you can see, we do not have the value of RL which is given, but we are given the capacitance. So here we have calculated RL as 1 by 2 pi CdB. Here we have used only the detector capacitance because amplifier, no information of amplifier is given. So we calculated RL and then we plugged in the values, and based on that we got the signal to noise ratio, right? So the signal to noise ratio which we obtained for m equal to 1 turns out to be 7.9, and in decibels that is about 9 decibels, right? Now for the same configuration, if we use m as m optimum, right? If we use m as m optimum, that means if we are using an APD, we want to find what is the signal to noise ratio, right? So obviously, since APD is going to have a multiplication of the current, we expect that the signal to noise ratio in this case needs to be higher. It is supposed to be higher, right? So we are going to use the standard equation. So I'll just scroll up and show you the equation which we had derived. So this is the equation which we are going to use, right? So m optimum raised to 2 plus x, right, is equal to this value here, right? And this equation, as you can see, will have the thermal noise. The RHS equation will have the thermal noise, and it will have the short noise in the denominator, right? So I'm just going to rewrite that equation. So that is the when you are dealing with APD with an optimum value of multiplication factor, right? So m optimum raised to 2 plus x is 4kt divided by x, q, rl, and ip. In the equation which we had derived earlier, we had written ip plus id, but here in the question it is given that the dark current is negligible, so we don't have any equation for id, right? Okay, so this will now turn out to be this factor here, 2 plus x will be 2 plus 0.3, that is 2.3. So I'll write this as m optimum of or raised to 2.3 is 4 K is 1.38 into 10 raised to negative 23 into T, which is 18 degrees, so it is 291 Kelvin. Okay, please remember the temperature should be in Kelvin only. Okay. X is 0.3, Q is 1.6 into 10 raised to negative 19 into RL, which we had calculated, is about 636.5 into IP, which is given to us, which is 10 raised to negative 7, which is 10 raised to negative 7, right? So from this equation, we can get the value of optimum M, right? So let us first find out what is this optimum M. So let me know what value we get on the RHS.
So 5.25 into 10 raised to 3.
25 into 10 raised to 3, and there from there you let me know what is optimum M. So you should get like this, 5.25 into 10 raised to 3 raised to 0.435. So the optimum M should be about 41.54. Are you getting that?
Yes, sir. 41.5. Huh.
Yeah, okay. So from that equation, we get the optimum M as 41.54, right? So now we need to calculate the signal to noise ratio. And in this case, we have the APD. Therefore, the signal power will be M into IP square. If you compare this with a pin diode, it was only IP square. Okay, but here you have M. Then you have the short noise, that is 2Q BE IP, and then we have the multiplication factor, and we had done this. You had an excess factor of M square into M raised to X. Okay, plus the thermal noise is independent of the current, therefore it is just going to be 4 KTBE divided by RL, right? Therefore, rewriting this equation, you can write this as M square IP square divided by 2QBE IP, and I'll combine those two M's, and the value of X is 0.3. So you'll have M raised to 2.3. This will be the short noise plus 4 KTB divided by RL, or 4 KTBE by RL, right? So you can calculate the signal to noise ratio. Now the value of M we have just found is 41.54 into IP is 10 raised to negative 7. So the whole square of that product divided by 2 into Q, which is 1.6 into 10 raised to negative 19 into BE, which is B, which is given to us. Let me see what value of B. B is 50 megahertz. So 50 into 10 raised to 6 into IP is 10 raised to negative 7 into M raised to 2.3. So 41.54 raised to 2.3. So this will be the short noise plus 4 into no need to calculate the thermal noise again. From part A, we already know the thermal noise. So in part A, if you have calculated 4 KTB by RL, that is enough. So this is the value here. Here, this one, 1.26 into 10 raised to negative 15. This corresponds to this value. Okay, I'm just going to use that. So the thermal noise is just 1.26 into 10 raised to negative 15. Okay. So let's evaluate this and see what answer we get.
So 1.77 into 10 raised to 3.
Yeah, I also get around that one. I get 1.78 into 10 raised to 3.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is the signal to noise ratio, and so this is in linear units. Let's calculate this in decibels. So this signal to noise ratio in decibels will just be 10 log to the base 10 of that 1.78 into 10 raised to 3. So let us see what SNR we get here. So we get some, I get 32.5 decibels,
Yes, sir. Correct.
right? Okay. And now if we compare this, what was that for m equal to 1? It was 9 decibels, right? And what we are getting for the m, that is when x is 0.3, is 32.5 dB, right? So there is an improvement of 32.5 minus 9 dB. So you get 23.5 decibels improvement, right? So which makes sense because you're using an APD which gives a multiplication, but you can see what is happening here. So if you use an APD, your signal to noise ratio is going to improve. And you must note here that everything is the same. So for the same scenario itself, you are getting about 23.5 decibels of improvement. Okay, so this is an example which helped us in understanding what exactly is you know the use of the APD over uh, the pin diode. Okay. So similar questions have solved in the notes. They're there in the videos also, so you can look at them. Okay. Let me see if we can solve one more. Okay. So this is the same which I have solved in the notes. You can look at it. Okay. Let me proceed on the other end, and we will look at the optical receivers. Okay. So in the case of noise, from the exam point of view, okay, they will definitely ask you the signal to noise ratio. Okay, they will surely be asking you uh, what are the different noises which you could have. Okay, and you could have numericals based on this. Okay, so now let's look at the optical receiver. Okay, so I have already differentiated between the receiver and the detector. Okay, so let me again go back to the very first lecture where we had drawn the optical system. Okay, so now we are in a position to completely understand what the system looks like. Okay, so here we have an antenna which will catch the signals. So the antenna will now provide this input to an electrical source. This source will now give the input to an LED or a laser diode. So this is an LED or a laser. This LED or the laser will then provide this signal after modulation, obviously, into the fiber, right? So this is the OFC cable, and then at the output we receive this signal, the light. So this is the light that we get. So I'll write this HF. Okay, and obviously this is grounded. And now this pin or APD diode will give its output in the form of current. So we'll get I here. Okay, so I'll make it more clear. The electrical source output is I, the input to LED or laser is I, and what we get here is the photons, that is HF. Okay, so now the current has been generated at the output of the pin and APD, right? Okay, now you concentrate on these dotted lines. Okay, now this dotted line which I have drawn, the bracket, this is your optical system, right? This is the optical system. What is happening outside of that is electrical system, which is basically you have an electrical source and you have an electrical receiver, right? The input to the electrical source is obviously those signals and it will be current, right? The electrical source is just going to take these signals and filter out whatever is the data which we require, right? So this will have an RF filter, and it will filter out all the other data which we do not need, and it will just pass the data which we need, and the output is going to be current, right? Now the input to the electrical receiver after the pin and APD is also current, right? But it is going to be corrupted by the noise and other factors. Therefore, this electrical receiver needs to have that kind of a filter or other devices, so that its output, which is also in the form of current, is the one which is desired at the destination. Okay, so now we are going to talk about a system which we know very well because we have been doing this from the beginning of communication engineering, and that is nothing but the electrical system, right? So this is very, very important to understand that the optical system consists of only the optical source, OFC, and the optical detector, but the parts outside of it, that is before the laser and after the APD, they are just electrical systems, right? So what we are going to discuss is this electrical receiver, this part here. Okay. We have already done LED laser, we have discussed OFC, we have discussed pin and APD. We want to discuss the electrical receiver. Okay. So in terms of visualizing, so let's see how we can visualize. So if you have an LED or a laser, so the input that you get for the LED or the laser, these are pulses, right? And these will be zeros and ones, right? And each of these bits will have a bit period TB, that is the bit duration. Okay. Now what you get at the output is optical power pulses. They will look like this, and their duration will obviously be TB. So these are optical power pulses. The ones here which I have drawn are electrical or electric power pulses. Okay. Next is obviously the OFC. So these optical pulses pass through the OFC. The output that you get from the OFC will be attenuated and dispersed, so they'll look like that. So this is attenuated and dispersed. More specifically, attenuated and dispersed optical pulses. Right. Now this moves into the pin or APD. Right. Now the pin and the APD is going to convert it into the corresponding electrical current pulses. Right. Now obviously that is not the output that we require. Therefore I'm going to dot it and bring these dots here and redraw. So the next block that we have is of amplifier and filter, which is going to amplify and filter out the unwanted signals, and the output that we get looks something like this. These are pulses, the electrical pulses with amplifier noise. So we'll discuss about the amplifier noise in module 4. Okay, it's a little surprising to know what noise our amplifier has. That we will discuss in module 4. This is followed by the decision circuit. So decision circuit is your basic integrator circuit with a switch which is going to switch on and off and decide which bit was transmitted initially. And we hope that what we obtain at the output of the decision circuit is same as that of the input, right? So these are your output pulses. Okay, and then we follow this up with a digital signal processing circuit, which is going to process this and then send it to the destination. So this is your destination. Okay, so this is what the entire diagram looks like, and it is very easy to explain and understand. But what we want to really understand is what is happening in this receiver part, right? That is after the conversion of the optical received pulses into the electrical pulses, right? So in terms of the receiver, the first element which we have is obviously the photodetector, and the photons are impinging on this, and what you have here is the OFC, right? So your signal is coming from there, from the source to the OFC, and then the output is HF, right? So this impinges your pin or the APD. Then what we have is what is known as a front end amplifier. This follows up with a filter which is known as an equalizer. We'll discuss very soon what this equalizer is, followed by a sampling circuit, and this sampling circuit requires the input from a clock recovery, because you need to know when exactly to sample the signal. And then finally all of this is followed up with a decision circuit, and then what we get from the decision circuit is V out, that is the voltage output. Okay. So it is V subscript out, right? That is what we get at the output of the decision circuit, right? So the electric current which is produced is very weak, right? So what we need, so electric current means these are the photons hitting the pin or the APD, and the output here is the current. So this current here, this I here current is going to be very weak, and therefore we use the front end amplifier, which is going to boost it to such a level that we can use it in the following circuitry. Once you amplify this signal, it passes through a low pass filter, and this filter is going to reduce the noise outside of the signal bandwidth, right? So the signal bandwidth is very large because we are using an optical fiber cable, but whatever is outside of that bandwidth, this filter is going to reject it. So this filter is going to define the receiver bandwidth, right? So this filter, right, this is a low pass filter, defines the receiver bandwidth. Okay, so you must understand this from communication point of view. Whatever is the bandwidth of the signal that we have before it hits the APD and pin will be different than the one that is allowed outside from the filter, because depending on the noise which is going to affect the signal, right? So this filter is going to be a low pass filter, and this will define the receiver bandwidth. Now, to minimize the effect of intersymbol interference, the filter you can also use this to reshape the pulses, because the pulses have become distorted as I had drawn previously, and this reshaping of the pulses so that the pulses look like the same shape that was sent in at the input side, that is known as equalization. Equalization basically cancels the pulse spreading effects. Okay, so an equalizer, it cancels the pulse spreading effects. And after the equalizer, we finally have a decision circuit, as you can see, and this decision circuit is going to sample the signal at the midpoint. So if you have 0 to 1, this is going to sample at 0.5 of each time slot, and then compare it with a reference voltage. That reference voltage is known as the threshold voltage, right? Is known as the threshold voltage. So these are the levels you can have. You can have 1, 0.50, and every time you sample, depending on if the signal lies here or if the signal lies here, the output that you decide is 1 bit, or here the output that you decide is 0, right? So that is how this circuit is going to work, right? If the received signal will be greater than the threshold level, then you say that 1 is transmitted. If the received signal is less than the threshold voltage, then we say that 0 is transmitted. So for this, the receiver needs to know the boundaries, and this is done with the help of the clock. So this clock has a periodicity equal to that of the transmitted signal. So this clock here, this will be connected or will be in sync with the input. So at the input, whatever was the bit period, that clock will know. Therefore, this kind of a system is known as a coherent system. Why? Because the input and the output, they know each other's timing, right? So this is an example of the coherent system, right? I'm sure you are aware of coherent and non-coherent system. Coherent systems are such in which the receiver and the transmitter know each other, in the sense their phase and the frequency and the time at which the bit occurs, right? So based on that, the clock will help the sampling circuit in sampling, and this entire process is known as clock recovery. So if you sample a little higher or little lower on the bit rate, then the proper sampling will not occur. Okay? So that is the whole idea of this particular circuit. Okay, so there are other important things. For example, the front end amplifier, which we have just shown on that diagram. So now this front end amplifier, it is basically used to increase what is known as a receiver sensitivity, which we'll discuss a little later, and it also maintains the suitable bandwidth. So this front end amplifier will have noise sources at its input. So it is necessary to design a low noise front end amplifier. Why? Because there are many noises which are there at the input of the front end amplifier. So this front end amplifier increases receiver sensitivity. So receiver sensitivity basically is the minimum power which you require to obtain a desired quality of service. So for example, if let's say take the numerical which we solved, if the signal to noise ratio which we require is 40 dB, for example, what is the minimum power? What is the minimum power to obtain 40 decibels? right, to obtain 40 dB. That is known as the receiver sensitivity, right? So if you have a high receiver sensitivity, it is very good because at very lowest power itself, you can achieve the desired quality of service. Okay. The other other advantage or other requirement of the front end amplifier is to maintain suitable bandwidth. Maintain suitable bandwidth. Right? So this front end amplifier can be of two types. One can be high impedance, and the other is a trans impedance. And the important design criteria for the front end amplifier is to choose the load resistance, because your thermal noise is inversely proportional to load resistance. So just to recollect, sigma square thermal is 4 kTb divided by RL. K is a constant, T can be maintained, B is constant, therefore sigma square thermal is proportional to 1 by RL, right? So to design the front end amplifier, if I need low noise, then this RL needs to be as large as possible so that we can minimize this thermal noise, right? So the high impedance amplifier looks something like this. You have the photodiode, we have the load resistance, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
No.
So we see the screen.
To me it shows it is disappeared. One second, let me start. Okay, my OneNote is starting. Just give me a moment. I just shared the screen. Hopefully it should be on now. Is it visible now?
No, sir.
Okay, hold on. It is showing me that
Yes,
it is
sir.
visible.
Yes, sir. Now
Okay,
it's visible.
okay, okay. Okay. So sometimes this OneNote does like this. Okay. So we are discussing the high impedance amplifier. So we'll have more details of these amplifiers in module 4 when we speak about the most popular optical amplifier. It's called a erbium doped fiber amplifier. But just to see what can be used, uh, I'll open a new page. Hold on. My pencil is not working. Hold on. Okay, let me reshare again. 1 second. Okay, it's back again. I'll just share the screen. Okay. So I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So some problem in OneNote. Okay. So I'm just showing you the structure of the amplifier. So we have the photodiode, followed by load resistance, followed by the capacitor. So this is RL, this is C, and then we have the amplifier. So this is the structure that we have, right? So as we just discussed, we want a very high value of RL so that the thermal noise can be reduced. The output here, what we'll have is V out, the output voltage. Right? So the trade-off that we need is between noise and bandwidth, right? Because we know that the bandwidth is given as 1 by 2 pi RL C, the capacitance there, right? So if I really keep increasing the bandwidth, the RL value, it is going to decrease the noise. It will increase the bandwidth, yes, but the more and more noise can also enter if you have a large bandwidth. So ultimately, noise is signal. So if it gets more bandwidth, it is just going to come into that bandwidth. So there is a trade-off between the noise and the bandwidth in this case. So we can include an equalizer to increase the system bandwidth, but if the bandwidth is less than the bit rate, it will not be that useful, right? So we'll tackle this situation in module 4 and see how we can reduce or how we can manage this noise versus bandwidth trade-off, right? So this is the front end amplifier. You can also have a trans amplifier. So the trans amplifier looks something like this. You have the photo detector. So we have the photo detector here. We have the capacitor. And then we have the amplifier. And RL is actually pasted here. We have the RL which is connected to the output of Vout. Okay, so this will be C, and this will be the photons which are impinging on the photodiode, right? And this here is the amplifier. So here what we get is we use the gain of the fiber, and we can increase the bandwidth. We can increase the bandwidth by some G plus 1, right? That is the gain of the amplifier, right? So whatever drawbacks we have of the high impedance amplifier in terms of using the load resistance, that we can decrease by using a negative feedback system in this kind of the setting that which is known as the trans impedance amplifier, right? So the noise is also increased when you increase the bandwidth, like I said, but in general we can tolerate this kind of noise by using the following circuit that we have, right? So this can be an optimum choice of the receiver which we can have, right? And this is known as the trans impedance amplifier. So which one to use depends really on the application that we have. Okay. We'll see in module 4 what kind of amplifiers which are there, which we really tend to choose in the optical system. So here I've just given you an uh, overview of what these kind of amplifiers are, the front end amplifiers, but we'll see the other kind of amplifiers in module 4. Okay. So what is left off in this module is very important factor: receiver sensitivity. So this is one of the parameters over which the system is going to be evaluated, because it will give us the required or the desired quality of service with the least power that we can give. So if a system can me the same desired performance with lesser power, I will actually go for that system, right? So we need to understand what this receiver sensitivity is, and a connected concept which we need to discuss with the receiver sensitivity is known as quantum limit. Quantum limit. So we'll see what is this quantum limit. It is also related to the minimum received power, and we'll look at the equations of that. And then finally, we have a concept of eye diagrams, which will help us in understanding what is the signal to noise ratio of the system. Okay. So I'll pick up these concepts in the next lecture. So probably one more lecture is required to finish this. Uh,